Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here to talk about one of the most heated topics that I have been seeing in the bookish communities online, be it BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram, and it asks the question of, is reading political? And there are people that are very aggressive with their answer, and I've even seen someone assert that if they do not agree with the answer, feel free to unfriend me, which I'm not going to give names because, to be honest with you, I can't even recall off the top of my head whom it was in particular. It's just something that I saw. But first of all, I think that as long as the person's position is not one that is deliberately hurting one or more kind of person or being, then there should not be any intense feelings. However, I came here to elaborate on my point of view as far as whether or not reading is political. And I think the first thing we have to ask is, why do we read? And there are so many reasons why we pick up a book to read. That includes the fact that we read to escape reality. So there are people that want to read because they don't want to think about politics, rather than read to think about the thing that is, in very many cases, dominating the real world. There's people that read to go on an adventure that's different from what we experience in our everyday lives. It's kind of like an armchair vacation, which a lot of people have referred to when they pick up a book about another country. They can travel but not even leave their house. But we do that with different experiences as well. It's not just to a certain area, it's to a certain way of living. You're following another person's life rather than your own. And there could be political reflection in it, and there may not be. We read for entertainment. And that is however we like to be entertained. Some people like to be entertained with something more lighthearted, like something contemporary, something romantic, something thrilling, horrifying, just so many different ways. We read to learn, and we could learn about anything, and we can take any approach to learn. We also read to strengthen our knowledge, which this either can be political. We could be reading about a political topic. We could just be reading about a figure in politics. Like, I like to read presidential history. And there are parts of it that have to do with their political life. And then there's some things that just have to do with their personal life. I like to learn and brush up and make sure that I'm keeping up with particular details, because I like to not only know about the American presidents, I also want to make sure that I am remembering important dates. I can definitely remember their serving order, their terms, the year in which they were born, the year that they died. I generally know the names of first ladies. I do want to brush up on their children, their vice presidents. I know their political parties right off the top of my hand. That's, to me, common knowledge. But these are just basic details. And there are reflection of politics, but I'm going to move on because I don't want to go astray on that, because I can if I wanted to. But we also read to strengthen our empathy. So we are learning about people, and we learn more about, and it puts us in a position to wonder why rather than what and how. And I think we need to ask ourselves that a little bit more. But empathy is such a huge... There's people that look different, act different, come from different areas, believe in different things, be it with their religion, be it with their values, and we learn about why they think a certain way. And then after everything is laid out, we make our judgment as to how we should perceive their character. However, our judgment is still, in many cases, subjective. There are moments where you can clearly say that they are in the wrong, but in many of the cases, there are details that it's a matter of where you yourself stand. And I feel that ultimately reading is what we make of it. Whether or not reading is political depends on the intent of the reader and of the writer. And it's specifically that of the reader and what their intent is as they're approaching their work. Because this is just a piece that I wanted a blank sheet of paper, but this is I think that maybe let's pretend that this here is a blank sheet of white paper. This in itself is not political. What you put on it can be political. It could be anything you want it to be. But as it stands here, this in itself is just a platform for you to be able to express yourself. The base in which anybody has the ability to display their thoughts in itself is apolitical. It's once it has information that can lean a certain way or could provide details to give people the tools to determine the political strength that it carries. And people can interpret it in different ways. I wanted to talk about a few works as far as examples pertaining to whether or not reading is political is concerned. Let's take a work like The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. There is nothing, from my point of view, that is political about that book. And I feel that it is meant to be read and enjoyed for its face value, because it's about a caterpillar that hatches from its egg, eats food, and becomes a butterfly. I think it's a lighthearted and a pleasant piece. It's meant to... it's targeted toward kids, but can be enjoyed by people of all ages. It's just so... It just makes you feel good when you're reading it. And you're not supposed to be thinking about you're not supposed to be thinking about any kind of politics as you approach it. So in that case, reading is not political. Now let's take a work like Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, which it does have political messages. Many dystopian works do. And I think a lot of people approach dystopian literature with the mindset that it's meant to monger thoughts of political stance. And even Victoria Aveyard herself has said that she wrote it with political motivation in mind. However, the way that she did write it, it leaves it up to the interpretation of the reader, because I think that any reader can get into it and argue that it either states their case as far as their political argument is concerned, However, I feel that it can be read, approached, and enjoyed in a way that it does not have to be political. People can just see it for its story. Then we get into, back to literature for younger readers, Dr. Seuss's books, which Dr. Seuss's books are known for their underlying political messages. But to younger readers, they just see them as children's books, or books that are meant for them. They see the illustrations. Very oftentimes they're zany, and they see the rhyme scheme that Dr. Seuss uses when he writes. But I think that his illustrations are incredibly memorable. I think that his rhymes really, and the fact that he doesn't use as many words, and the words that he uses are relatively simple, that really is a tool to help kids learn how to read. But I personally have always saw through the disconnect that Dr. Seuss has had with younger readers. I have preferred so many other works and writers when I was growing up. And I was never a fan of most of his writing. And be it when I was younger and today. I do see merit with works like The Lorax, but to me, I think that a work like Green Eggs and Ham is just incredibly rude and abrasive. I think it's rude in the way that if somebody tells you that they don't want green eggs and ham, they're not going to want it on a boat, a float, in a box with a fox, in a house with a mouse. And the way I'm getting at, the food is pretty moldy as well. Green food, but that's another story for another time. But you see political messages in more works like, you have The Lorax, then you got works like Yertle the Turtle, The Sneetches, but there's also been explanations for other works of his that have carried political weight to it. But if you ask the target audience, they're not going to see it that way. And then you have a work that, to me, can only be viewed from its political allegory, and that's Another Kingdom by Andrew Klavan. I feel that, in the successful sense, I think what drives it is the fact that there are allegories as far as political topics are concerned. But I think it's more specifically when it touches upon the dark things that take place behind the scenes of those that control the entertainment industry. I think that the story itself is just using that simple figure in royalty that has to say, like the knight saving the princess and getting something out of it, and the whole quest that comes behind it. The quest being more so designed for the knight, but more so a backdrop to be able to express the message that Klavan himself wants to incorporate into the piece. I feel that overall, a well-written work that does have political intentions allows the reader to make their own conclusions. A lot of the dystopian works that I'm familiar, like The Giver and Fahrenheit 451, works of that nature, I think that while a writer can have their own intentions, and they've often expressed them, I do think that the phrase "death of the author" does come into play once the work is out and has been released. But I do like to keep the writer's intentions in mind, but I still keep in mind what it is that they've laid out, because I think that it's very meaningful to be able to use what they've written as tools to be able to strengthen your point of view as far as a written work is concerned. I wanted to also reflect on the definition of politics really is, and the original, authentic, organic definition. Not because there are entities that will reshape definitions in order to reflect what it is that they want to convey. But the word politics comes from the ancient Greek for affairs of the cities, and it refers to how groups of people make planned decisions, and the agreements and the compromises that take place as they go along with such. In essence, a civil way to be able to come to agreements on how they can move forward and at the same time make everybody as happy or as at least content as they can possibly be. But once you apply that to reading and then you ask yourself whether or not reading is political, I think the overall answer is reading can be political. But I think that reading in itself is what you want it to be, because nobody thinks the same way. But people should show respect for the way that other people think, as long as what they're thinking and how they go about doing what they think is not deliberately hurting other people. That's where I stand as far as the question of whether or not reading is political is concerned. And I will be interested in looking into this topic a little bit more, and I'll be interested to see how people answer the question, and I'd be happy to discuss it some more in the comments. I just ask that you be civil and respectful, because one thing that really irks me is that there are people that I'm friends with on social media. The only time I hear from them or hear them say something is if it has to do with something that's political. I have not posted political posts in quite some time, because I really don't want to argue about. I really have no interest in arguing about politics with other people. You just have to be a good person. That's all I say. Just be the best person you can possibly be, and abide by the golden rule of treating other people the way you would like to be treated. I want to thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more videos from our channel, and for now, and as always, I encourage you to keep reading.